Yes. And welcome to the Peace Love Nation podcast. As always, I'm your host, Erez. And on today's episode, we have a very special person with us. Her name is Danielle Hartman. She's the CEO of a very beautiful charitable organization called Jewish Family Services, or JFS.
Right.
And we're going to talk about this organization, what they do, and explore how you go about helping other people in the community. Because it's not just about Jewish people, right? I mean,
Correct.
You help everybody.
We do. Our mission actually says that we help people of all backgrounds and faiths. So we have it right in our mission.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well, I guess I wanted to first welcome you to Peace
Thank
Love
you.
Nation. And to start off, tell us a little bit about, in your experience, what first called you into this
Right.
life of service?
I really give credit to my parents. I did not grow up with a lot of money, but they always were giving of their time, and I would see them volunteering for different organizations. And so we would always do things as volunteers. And then when I was actually in college, I went to Drexel University, and they're known for their co-op program. And all my co-ops, ironically, were with nonprofits. I worked for the Chamber of Commerce. I worked for the Franklin Institute, which is the science museum. And then I worked for the university. And when I graduated, I actually went to go work for GE, which at the time was one of the largest multinational corporations in the world.
Yeah.
And when I stopped working for GE and took some time off, when it was time to go back to work, I had always been volunteering along all that time as a lay leader. And then when I had an opportunity to go back to work, I knew I wanted to be in nonprofit because helping people is just in my DNA.
Right. Did GE have a nonprofit sort of thing
They
to
did
it?
not. I
No?
don't even remember them having a foundation or any sort of charitable giving. I don't remember at that time ever talking about donating back or anything like that,
Right.
which is very sad. I'm sure they have something now, but at that time, it really was not the focus.
But that was a very strong interest for you early
Yes.
on in your life.
You mean the volunteering part?
The volunteering, community work.
Yes. I just always liked helping people. It's just always been something that my husband will say when we're out and about, he doesn't like to talk to people. He's like more of like, let's just don't get involved. And I'm always like, but I want to help. There's something going on. I can tell they need help. I need to help. So it's just part of who I am.
And so, and of course, as a woman also, I mean, going into this space and eventually becoming CEO of this organization. So what led you to that?
Yeah, actually, I came into JFS as the CEO, and I've been here. March will be my 16th year as the CEO.
Oh, wow.
And
Congratulations.
Thank you. And before that, I had actually been at the Jewish Federation as my last position there was as the vice president of program planning and allocation. So I was actually the one working with our lay leaders to evaluate the charities we were donating money to. JFS was one of the charities. And at the time, they were in a not as healthy place as we are now. And I remember saying to my boss at the time, that's an agency that's a diamond in the rough. Somebody needs to go scrub it up and really make it into what it could be. And when the CEO who was there at the time, she had been there for 14 years, left the agency, he asked me if I would interview. He really encouraged me. I was actually getting my master's in nonprofit management at the time at FAU. I ended up, the first year I was at JFS, I had just graduated with my master's in nonprofit management. And it really was a diamond in the rough. The agency was very small. Our budget at the time was $3.4 million. Our budget now is over $23 million. Wow. So we've had tremendous growth. And that's all about serving people. I think one of the things that I'm very proud of about JFS is that we really change our programs to fit the needs in the community at the time. So half of our budget is just on serving Holocaust survivors that are living in our community. We have over 11 Holocaust survivors that are over 100 years old.
It's amazing.
And we're taking care of over 200 living Holocaust survivors that I don't think people realize are still here and need to be taken care of. I think a lot of times we are so focused on the educational aspect and making sure that nothing like the Holocaust happens ever again, that we sometimes forget that there are still many Holocaust survivors living at or below the poverty line that need our help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
And that's tough when you're fighting in a world that people don't even want to believe there was a Holocaust, so far.
it's so
long
shocking,
ago,
isn't it? It's just so shocking to me, that aspect of it. But I would say my time at GE working in the for-profit world did give me a lot of really great skills that when I came into JFS, not coming from a social work background, not coming from a nonprofit background, really other than my own lay leadership and volunteer work, I was able to approach it as a business person. And I think that really helped us at a time when we really needed help, getting our finances back on track, growing the agency, and being able to talk to donors to have them invest in the agency. And so I think having both a for-profit mindset and a social work heart, a nonprofit heart, has been a really great marriage in my own career and in bringing JFS to where we are right now.
Let's talk about that heart for a second.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, how is it that you integrate kindness and compassion into your leadership style?
I think it's very important. In the nonprofit world, burnout is such at a high rate because we are, these are not the highest paid jobs and we put high demands on our staff. And so I feel that being a woman and being a mom and, for a long time I was a single parent raising my kids and having my own struggles. I think having that personal experience has brought empathy into my leadership because I've been there, I've had difficulties in my life. And so I can appreciate sometimes what clients are going through and, it's difficult. And then also for staff, I give so much credit to the social workers that work at JFS. I don't think I could buffer myself from all of the energy that's coming to them from people who are struggling tremendously just to survive and then to be able to come to work every day and show up and be present. So I think just honoring that we are really working hard under difficult circumstances and that the clients that we're helping are facing terrible tragedies and terrible situations. But that at the end of the day, we could all feel good that we're helping people and making a difference in their lives. I think that's how I show up as a leader and show kindness to my staff and also kindness to the clients that I'm so fortunate to interact with.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
How many staff do you have
So
there?
we have about 80 part-time and full-time staff, mostly social workers. So we have a very large clinical practice. We're one of the only nonprofits that provides affordable access to therapies, psychiatry, and psychological testing. I don't know if you have any experience, but if you go out to see a psychiatrist privately in the community, they don't need to take insurance because there's so few of them. And that really shuts out so many people who need access to medications and psychiatry services. Right now, we're the only nonprofit that is working with the FAU School of Medicine, where their residents are actually coming to JFS and providing services in our community. I'm very proud of that partnership. We were one of the very first, and we are the only community-based placement that the FAU Medical School residents for psychiatry come to. And we've just helped so many people through that service.
And so what area do you service then?
Yeah, so our service area is Boca Raton and Delray Beach. And we service from the youngest of children to the oldest adults, including Holocaust survivors. So it's broken into, I'll say, pillars. So we have our behavioral health pillar, which is the mental health. We have a center for families and children, which serves families raising children with disabilities. We have a domestic violence program through there. We are helping people with jobs. We do a lot of outreach. We also have a very large senior services division, which is not just Holocaust survivors. We also operate a senior center called the Weissman Delray Community Center, which is a vibrant living place for older adults to access support, socialization, transportation, and even mental health all in one place. And we also service a lot of seniors with volunteers in the community. And in addition, we also have a very large food pantry called the Jacobson Family Food Pantry. Our food pantry actually was started in 1996, and it has grown. In 1996, it started with 25 households, and now we're serving over 300 households in Boca Raton, Delray, and Boca every month with bi-monthly food deliveries or food pickups.
How many families are in need of this? I mean, it's only 2 towns you're talking about, really.
It's amazing. It's incredibly
Sounds like you should be all over the place, really, with what you're doing.
Well, we're lucky that there are other JFSs. There's two actually in Palm Beach County. So there's a sister agency that has their own nonprofit. They service Boynton to the north. There's a JFS in Broward, and there's a JFS in Miami. So in any major city, there's usually a Jewish Family Services. And, we have an incredibly large Jewish population in need in Boca and Delray. So each year we're serving, I think the number is over, I think when we counted last year, when you take each month and you add it up, we're serving over 30,000 people. And that's from someone who maybe only come one time and need financial assistance to help pay rent or a car repair, to someone who's coming twice a month for the food pantry. So it's very broad, and there are a lot of people in need, especially now. The cost of living is in our area is so high, and people's medical insurance is the affordable healthcare subsidies, they may or may not be going away. People are panicking about how they're going to pay their health insurance premiums. We have people who had been not receiving their SNAP benefits. Now they're receiving it. Some people are not able to access SNAP benefits. So you have more people who are needing to access food and deal with food insecurity issues. So the needs are endless, and all that parlays into mental health issues. People, that are stressed or have anxiety, depression, they need mental health. They can't afford it. It's just a snowball. It really is.
Sounds like a lot.
It
is. You're dealing with here.
Well, I have great staff. I'm very lucky. The staff at JFS are all very dedicated to their work, and we have a lot of staff that have been at the agency a very long time. We just actually had the Howard Horowitz just retired after 27 years with the agency, and he's enjoying his retirement. But, I think it says something about the work that we're doing when you have employees stay for 20 years, 25 years and on. And it really, we're very lucky.
And when if someone wants to come and join,
Get help?
Obviously to get help, but also just be part of your staff here.
Yes.
Be part of the organization because they want to help others. Is there room for that? And also, how do you, express the idea of empathy with new staff that come on board, to continue as you grow.
Right.
The idea that, you have to service these people at the most vulnerable moments in their lives.
I think like I mentioned earlier, the majority of our staff are social workers, and they actually teach me that because that's how they're taught. And when they go to school for social work, they're taught to lead with an empathetic heart. And so I think most difficult is when you cannot help a family for whatever reason. Maybe they don't want to help themselves, and you can't help them if they don't want to help themselves. And I think that's difficult. A lot of times when people will send a client to JFS, we can have all the resources in the world, but if that person or family doesn't want to accept the help we're offering, there's nothing we can do about that. And I think that's one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn over time, that for as much as we want to help people, if they are not willing to help themselves, there's nothing you can do about that.
And so when someone's looking for help, and you said it could be anybody, it's not just Jewish people of the Jewish faith. Anybody in this area can reach out to you. And so typically what happens in that scenario?
Right. So there's a lot of different ways we get referrals. 211, which is you can dial it on your phone or your cell phone. It's like a local information and referral line, not just to our agency, but to all agencies. So we get referrals from 211. We get a lot of referrals from synagogues and churches in the area. We get referrals from the United Way. They actually, on their website, have a food finder map for people looking for food in our community. We're on their food finder map. We get a lot of referrals from clients who have a neighbor as a friend who needs help. They'll refer them to JFS. Word of mouth, we've been in the community since 1979. So we've been around a long time. And also people like yourselves coming from other communities where there are JFSs. So if you're in a community that has a JFS, you pretty much think there's going to be one, and there usually is one if you're in a major city. So we get referrals from people who are moving here from other cities that they know there's a JFS in their community. Right. It may not actually have all the same services, but they at least know to call. So we get referrals from the day schools. We actually have a contract with the Palm Beach County Schools to have therapists in, I think it's 4 public schools right now. So we actually have therapists working with the guidance counselors at some area public schools, and they make referrals for the family. We like to say, and I used to say 9 out of 10 times, but now it's 10 out of 10 times when somebody comes to JFS for maybe food or counseling or financial assistance, when they're given that intake, when the social worker takes the intake and sees what their broad needs are, it's usually always that they can benefit from some other service. And so once they become part of our family, they're always part of our family. So people may be coming on our pantry and then go off because maybe they got employed and they don't need the pantry anymore. If they lose their job, they might come back to the pantry. So we've had clients that have used our services once and they're fine. We've had clients, some of our senior services clients, particularly the Holocaust survivors, they've been clients for years and years and years. Then we have other people who come and go because they know, just like family, will always be there to help them when they need it.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So let's talk about volunteers. So what can volunteers do if they want to help some of these Holocaust victims or
anyone? We have over 900 volunteers last year. We have volunteers that help us with, we call them once a year events. So as an example, this past Thanksgiving and every Thanksgiving for almost 30 years now, we provide a big Thanksgiving meal on the campus where our offices are. And we had this past year almost 600 older adults or adults with disabilities who had no family to celebrate Thanksgiving with. And we had almost as much volunteers. We had about 300 volunteers come that day. So we have ways to volunteer once. And then we have ways that people can volunteer on a weekly basis. So as an example, every Thursday, we have people that come to our food pantry and they make deliveries to clients in their home. On Fridays, we do our Meals on Wheels deliveries. We are the only Meals on Wheels, and it's a kosher Meals on Wheels program. We're the only Meals on Wheels program that exclusively uses volunteers to make deliveries. And we intentionally did that because when a volunteer goes out to make a delivery, they're trained, they're screened, because we don't want to put anybody in a bad situation where an unscreened volunteer is going to be in their home.
Right, to be safe, secure.
To play it safe, but they're trained to look for the cues that there might be a problem. So volunteers really act as the eyes and the ears when JFS can't be in every week or be visiting with clients, and they're trained to bring those back, and then we go out and investigate more. We have people that volunteer at our Weissman Center, our senior center, once a week. Some people volunteer every day. So I think the nice thing, and we have actually a whole department just for volunteers. We have a person, her whole entire job is just talking to volunteers or talking to people who want to volunteer and figuring out what their skills are and where it would make the most difference for the clients that need help and for the person who wants to volunteer. So
that sounds so exciting. I can't wait to volunteer.
Yeah. I mean, the great thing is we even have our volunteer platform so you can check off what you're interested in, and then you'll start getting emails. So if you say, I'm really interested in food or the food pantry, you'll get every single email of every single opportunity to volunteer at our food pantry. So some people sign up for everything. Some people say, I only want to work with seniors. I only want to be a friendly visitor. And they only get those opportunities when they come about. But we do take the screening and the matching process very seriously. And it's because it's the best for the clients.
And I mean, this is amazing. And this is an example for everyone to follow, I think, what you're doing. They're trying to help others.
Well, I think the example to follow is that you don't always have to have hired staff. There's no way we could have the touch in the community that we do if we had to. I wouldn't be able to hire enough staff to do it. And so I think valuing volunteers as extended part of our family to help make sure that we are taking care of the most vulnerable people when they need it. I think that's the value of the volunteering. That's why, as an example, with the Meals on Wheels, we intentionally did not want to hire delivery drivers to make those deliveries because there's a value in just the socialization and delivering food every Friday to somebody and making more than just a volunteer. You become part of their family, part of their caring system.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. How does JFS help people feel, that feel unseen?
Yes.
To be seen, to be heard, to be supported. Especially those that feel isolated or forgotten. What is that like?
I really think it goes back to our staff. And I know this because when I go to the Weissman Center, which is our senior center, and no matter whatever day I walk in, there's somebody who's coming there will come to me and say, this place is like my family. They called me when I was sick and I didn't show up for a week. And somebody called to say, what happened? Where have you been? Mm-hmm. When I walk in here, they greet me by my name and they know my family and my children. And it's like an extended family. And that's sort of what we model for our volunteers as well. And so when a volunteer, as an example, is delivering food to the same person every week, they do become part of their family, and they do learn about their history. They learn about their grandchildren and children and what the issues are. And it's really just part of our culture to do that.
Yeah, we need more of that,
Yeah.
between people.
We do.
We
do.
And because human connection is really a powerful tool for healing as well, right?
For healing,
What
yes.
have you seen around that?
So the connection piece, we used to have a friendly driver program called Kibitz and Ride. We had to stop the program. We didn't have enough volunteers to drive people to. These are things.
Is that comedians with cars? And
I wish. I love that show. Actually, that's a great show. This was where volunteers would drive people to maybe shopping, maybe to the drugstore, maybe to a doctor's appointment, but maybe to get their hair done, get their hair washed, because maybe to the podiatrist, things that you couldn't take public transportation or a paid ride to. And we would screen the volunteers and match them up. And unfortunately, that program had to go away. But it was like, I'm sure you've heard or seen the movie Driving Miss Daisy.
Sure.
So it was sort of that concept where, the volunteers really learned to be caring individuals for others. And they felt just as good about volunteering their time as the person on the other end. So grateful that their grandchild was having a birthday and they could go to CVS and buy a birthday card. I mean, all these little things that we take for granted in our life when particularly older adults become mobily challenged. We live in South Florida. Transportation is not easy to access. People become sheltered and lonely. And so there's been research that isolated seniors increase their health. Their health goes downhill, goes in the wrong direction when they lack that social connection. But I go back to what I said earlier, because we have a bus that will pick people up and bring them to our senior center. And there are times when we'll get a call from a concerned child saying, I just visited with my parent and I'm concerned they're not getting out, they're isolating in their home. We can offer them a ride to the Weissman Center to be around other people. But if they don't want to come into the bus or get out of their house, there's really nothing we can do. So what we do, what we try to do is we have other volunteer programs. We have a friendly visiting program where you can go visit in the home. We also have a telephone reassurance program. So maybe you don't want to leave your home, but you can get a friendly phone call to check in on you. And there are stories where a volunteer, because again, it's about that connection. You're calling the same person every Thursday at 10 a.m. I'm making up that. But when they call, the person on the other end of the phone will say, "Oh, hi, Steve. I was waiting for you," because no one's called them from the week to the week except for Steve, the volunteer from JFS. Yeah. So having that human connection, I think we discount it way too much. It's so important to somebody's health. Yeah.
And because we're also living in these uncertain times. So how do you, what challenges do you see families facing right now that people don't realize or fully hear about?
I think people don't really understand the depths of hunger in Boca Raton and Delray Beach. They think that possibly cannot happen here. Right. I just think that because there's a misconception that if you live in Boca Raton or Delray Beach, you have means and that there are not people that are struggling. And if you'll indulge me, I'll tell you a story. This happened a couple weeks ago. I was at Trader Joe's shopping, and as I saw a woman as I was walking into the store, and she was eating, I don't know, some kind of like an ice cream sandwich with her baby and her toddler. And I thought, I smiled to myself and said, wow, isn't that cute? When I was little and my kids would go, when my kids were little and I'd go grocery shopping, I'd get them a reward for going grocery shopping and they would get a snack, and they look like they're enjoying their ice cream. I went in, I did my shopping. When I was walking out of the store, I was thinking, well, what am I going to have from my basket? I'm going to have, am I going to eat a banana on my way home? Am I going to eat almonds that I just purchased? And what did I see when I walked out of the store? I saw that same woman with her baby and her child sitting on the curb with a sign. And I realized that they were not devouring some treat that I saw when I walked in. They were hungry, and they were very, very hungry. So I stopped and I gave them some of the food out of my basket and said, please, take. And I realized that so many people, and somebody said I was walking, oh, that was such a nice thing to do. And I felt like saying to her, well, go buy them food too. Like, let's help people. Yeah. And I think like you talked about earlier about how do we have our clients feel that we're seen. That poor woman, people were walking by her as if she didn't exist. And it's a woman with a baby and a toddler. And this is in Delray Beach outside of Trader Joe's. It was very sad.
How is that happening? I mean, what is it?
I think that what's happening, people are losing their jobs, and it's taking more than a year sometimes to find employment. You cannot get unemployment for a year. You can't get unemployment indefinitely. You have a limit as to what you can get unemployment for, and it's never going to replace, what you were making in your paycheck. There are seniors that their HOA fees are going up exponentially, and they are living on a fixed income. So they're already one paycheck away from, God forbid, they have a car breakdown if they're still driving, or they have a medical issue or a dental issue. That will just turn the apple cart upside down. And so when those tragedies happen, you lose your job, your expenses go up beyond your income, you're on a fixed income. All of a sudden, your child gets diagnosed with schizophrenia. This is a story recently. A child, mid-20s, was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Now they're trying to be institutionalized. There's a huge cost for that. How are they going to pay for it? So in our community, just one thing can turn someone's life completely upside down. And we want to help the best that we can. Sometimes we're not able to help to the extent that someone needs the help because we are contained by the amount of dollars we raise. If I don't raise the money to give out in financial assistance, then there's a cap and a limit to what I can give to people when they ask for help. So it's a fine balance of being good stewards of dollars that donors are investing in our organization and making sure that the most vulnerable are cared for when they need it most.
Thank God you're there. I mean, I know even with the onset of AI, a lot more people will lose their jobs because this technology is growing so quickly. Your services will be needed. I think much more in the near future. Is my feeling.
We actually had we had to scale back our employment program a couple of years ago, but I'm excited that we're going to be able to bring it back because we are going to have to find new ways to have people find employment. Because I do believe AI will take some jobs, but there will be jobs. They might not be jobs that you got your college degree in. They might not be what you're trained in. But I think a big part of our future will be helping people reimagine what their skills can do and what their skills can be applied to do and how they can continue to be a productive member of society. I think a lot of times people have a misconception that people are lazy. I don't think people are lazy. I think they just need help figuring out what they can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you practice, for yourself?
Yeah.
How do you get peace within yourself with all this going on? How do you stay personally centered and emotionally resilient in all
I've
this?
learned a lot over the years. I'm old now. When I first started working, even back then, there were really no boundaries. You were just working all the time. People would call me at any time of the day or night. And people do still call me any time of the day or night. But I've learned to set boundaries where, I know for my own mental health that when I wake up in the morning, I don't want to read my emails right away because I know that there might be things that will need to be addressed, but that I need to take that time to exercise. I love to go outside and, I love yoga and I like to be outside in nature. And I tell my staff that too. I know sometimes, in our culture, we teach people that, it's a sign of honor and a badge of honor if you say, I've been at the office until 10 o'clock at night. And I tell people that's not a sign of honor for me. That tells me that you need to learn how to delegate your work or restructure your job. You need to unplug. So for me, I think I model that in my leadership, that you have to take care of yourself because if you don't take care of yourself, you are not going to be able to take care of others. And in the work that we are in, and again, I give all the credit in the world to the social workers, it's hard not to take on the strain and the stress when you're dealing with people in such dire situations. So we have to care for ourselves. I don't want any of my staff to burn out. And I don't want to burn out either because then we can't show up our best to help the people when they need it. They need us to be strong for them.
Right. And do you encourage your staff to do certain things?
I absolutely do. I do. I encourage, please, take your vacation, take your time off. And I say to people, if you aren't working, don't turn your phone on. If you are on vacation, you need to be on vacation. Now, that doesn't apply to me. I'm the CEO. That's a whole different thing. But I need to be available at a whole different level. But yes, I do tell my staff, if you're on vacation, if you're on a sick day, why are you answering your emails right now? It will be there tomorrow. It will be there tomorrow. And we have such great staff that, if somebody's out on vacation, there's 3 other people who can handle a call or a client, situation. So it's not that anybody is going to be dropped or fall through the cracks
Right.
because
Because
we
I'm
have
sure
enough
that's a
staff.
worry for some people too, because you're in the
Yes.
business of caring for others.
Yes.
And how
Yes.
could you think of caring for others when you're trying to care for yourself, and how you deal with that? So it's great that you
Right.
have that balance.
It's important. I've seen too many people burn out, and you have to be. You cannot show up for others if you are not there for yourself. So
Amen.
yeah.
Amen. So one of my questions to you is, and it's funny because if kindness were a daily practice, which it really is for you guys, what small actions could listeners start doing today to make a difference in their lives?
Yeah, I mean, simple things like a lot of us shop at Publix. Publix always has BOGOs, right? Buy one, get one. Okay, buy one, get one, and give the free one to a food pantry. It doesn't have to be my food pantry. There's other food pantries, but just give that extra thing. You're getting it for free anyway. Give it to someone else who really needs it. There's all over town. There are these little pantries, where you can fill it up with food. Do that, or you can do simple things in your life too, like call a friend and just check in on someone that you care about, especially if it's a senior, maybe their wife passed away and they're struggling with bereavement. Maybe a friend who's the caregiver for their parents and they're struggling. I think if you just take 1 minute just to call them or send them a text, I'm thinking of you, that just goes such a long way. And more importantly, know about Jewish Family Services. And if you know to get help or to refer someone to get help from Jewish Family Services, give them our phone number. Which, can I say my phone number?
Yes.
Can I give my phone
please,
number?
give this phone number.
So our phone number is 561-852-3333. Pretty easy, 3333, 561-852-3333. And, jot that number down, go to our website, refer a client to us to help them when they need it. And those are just little acts of kindness. Hold the door open for somebody. I don't know. My husband teases me because I'm always saying hi to people. I grew up in the South. That's just what we did. We always said hello to people walking down the street.
Right.
I think another thing, which going back to that woman that I saw outside of the Trader Joe's, I looked her in her eye. Look people in the eye. Do not see through people. And that makes a difference. That makes people feel that they're seen.
Yes.
You may not be able to help them, but they see that you are acknowledging them as a human. And that at a base level, we can all do that.
That's big for me. I'm a big advocate of that. That's actually just my go-to thing is I just walk up to strangers. I mean, the guy at the TSA counter or cashier, or someone that's just, I take a moment, I just say, hey, I just want to say thank you for what you do. What you do is important.
And you can change that script immediately. If I go, you're talking like TSA, or if you walk up to get your coffee or whatever, and somebody's sort of, you can see they're charged.
Right.
I usually just pause and say, hi, how are you? And thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. And it just changes their whole demeanor because people go through life not respecting humans.
Right.
We do not respect humans. We degrade and belittle people when everybody has a role on this earth. And everybody has goodness to give, even if you don't see it. And so we have to recognize it and honor it.
We have to recognize other people. I mean, that's what we want to feel as well. We want to feel recognized because sometimes we go through our day and it's just
right. And if you don't feel,
through the day,
and if you're not feeling that for yourself, how are you going to do that for others? So it's really, it's that power of the energy, the transfer of energy. It's super, super important just to be good people.
Right. And so how do you see with what you're doing, the community?
Yeah.
How do we change the community so we lead with love?
Well, that's a tough one. That's a hard one. No, I think
'cause love is a tough word for some people.
Love is a tough word. But I think in the future or looking forward to the community, I think that we need more people to step up and understand that it's not just giving money, it's volunteering into whatever capacity you can, and then giving people opportunities to do that. So, I mentioned earlier, last year we had over 900 volunteers, and we have volunteer opportunities for one time or every week or once a month or whatever. We have a volunteer opportunity for just about anything and anyone. It doesn't have to be JFS. Find an organization that you are interested in helping and see how you can be of help to them. How can you apply your skills or offer your time? We're all so busy, but we need to help others too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what would you like to leave as your legacy with Jewish Family Services? What do you what is the outlook for you?
I think the legacy I want to leave is that I would like to be known as someone who really did want to help people, and that I really tried to the best that I could to find ways to enable us as an agency to continue to change and evolve as the needs changed and evolved, and that we could really, really help people. And I have had really the grace and the honor to be at places where someone will come up to me and pull me off to the side and said, hey, when I was whatever, I got helped by JFS, and I just want you to know how much that really helped me when I needed it. Those kinds of stories are what I want my legacy to be, because agencies like JFS, and there's 140 around the country, we're going to be relied upon more and more as less government services are provided. It's interesting. We just had a visit of Israelis from our sister city. Our sister city is Kiryat Bialik. Actually, no, take that back. It's Zikron Yaakov. It used to be Kiryat Bialik.
Okay.
Now our sister city is Zikron Yaakov. And they were asking so many questions about JFS. Why do you have an organization like JFS? In Israel, we don't have organizations. All these services are provided by our government. How is this possible? It was a fascinating conversation exchange between the social workers at JFS and the people from our sister city, because they just couldn't understand that these are things that the government doesn't provide.
Right.
Isn't that fascinating?
The people have to step up.
Right. So here we are in the United States, and it's really not just my agency, but all the nonprofits that are working in this space in South Palm Beach County that have to work collaboratively. We didn't even talk about collaborations, but we cannot do this alone. Even though JFS is a huge organization and has a lot of programs and services, we partner with many, many local nonprofits to help together, because we're all stronger to working together.
Right.
Yeah.
And what happened like during October 7th, the war and all that? I mean, how do you guys collaborate with that?
Well, believe it or not, we had a lot of families like myself, who has 2 daughters living in Israel, that they were contacting us saying, I need to speak to a social worker. I need to speak to somebody. I have loved ones in Israel and I'm here. So we did a lot of online forums for people to talk to a social worker together, or had support groups for Americans with family living in Israel. We had support groups for families here who have their children serving in the IDF, and they needed to talk to somebody and have access to mental health. And then we had also Israelis that came into our community to escape the war, and they were helped in a collaboration with the JCC and the Jewish Federation, where we gave them a space. They were doing their online learning from here, and we gave them a space where they could be in a supervised environment. And then we had a social worker that was at the JCC, and then we had a social worker there to help the families. And some families needed help. Also with the Ukrainians, when the Ukrainians came here, we have someone on our staff who speaks 5 different Eastern European languages, and they needed help with translations because they were trying to get their kids enrolled into schools here. So we show up because we are so tied to Israel, right? As a community, we are so tied to Israel, and we have people that we know and love that are in Israel, and we're here to help them too.
Well, it is part of our covenant to help others, to bring God's light and God's love to the world and to other people, not just the Jewish people, everybody.
It's part of our Jewish DNA.
Yes.
Yes, Jewish values.
Yes. So if you're out there and you having an issue and you need help, reach out to Jewish Family Services, whether it's here in Boca and Del Rey, for Danielle to help you, or look for someone in your area as well. They're there to help you. So just to close, I wanted to ask you, and you really did share a lot today with us, but here at the Peace Love Nation and our listeners, I just want to see if you can share something around compassion and unity and the power of caring for one another. To have peace in your life, and to have love in your life, to share that love with others through these acts of kindness. Yeah.
I think it goes back to me sort of where we started with Holocaust survivors. We have a Holocaust survivor that comes to mind that really needed help financially, even though they were getting assistance and reparations from the German government. It wasn't enough, and they needed some dental work they needed dentures or some kind of expensive dental work. And we were able to work with the dentist, and he actually donated his time so that we were able to help the survivor beyond what we normally would have been able to help them with, because we called on a partner. We called on a person who was not an employee of JFS to figure it out. So that's just one example of many that I could give of where working together, working as a community, because the sign of a community is how we show up for people when they need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danielle, thanks so much for being on
Thank you.
the
Thank you for
Nation.
the opportunity.
We love you very much. And
Thank you.
if anyone's out there that's listening and watching, please do what you can, volunteer, give
Yes.
to help others.
Be kind.
Be kind, be loving to others. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please come to peacelovenation.com, become a member, hit subscribe button on YouTube and other channels, and come buy some merch from us and help support the channel. We really do appreciate it. Peace out.
Yes, 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 yes.
Open, open, open.